Of all the traits that define success, one of the most misunderstood is the ability to embrace rejection. Most people see rejection as a failure, a personal attack, or a confirmation of their deepest fears about themselves. But those who truly succeed in life do not see rejection this way. They see it as information, as feedback, as a necessary step on the path to competence and mastery. They understand that rejection is not just something to endure, but something to actively embrace because it holds the key to growth. Rejection, in its simplest form, is a test. It is a question posed by reality. Are you truly committed to this path? When someone tells you no, when an opportunity slips through your fingers, when your ideas are dismissed, you are faced with a critical choice. You can retreat, shrink back into safety, and tell yourself that you were never good enough in the first place, or you can analyze, adapt, and push forward with greater precision and strength. Successful people always choose the latter. One of the reasons rejection is so powerful is that it forces an individual to confront the gap between their current level of ability and the level required to succeed. It strips away illusions, exposes weaknesses, and demands improvement. Many people avoid rejection precisely because they fear what it reveals, that they are not yet where they need to be. But avoiding rejection is not a solution. It only guarantees stagnation. The people who shape industries, create lasting art, and lead movements are the ones who stand in the face of rejection and say, "I will not be stopped. I will get better." Think of any historical figure who has achieved something significant. Writers, scientists, entrepreneurs, each one has faced rejection at some point. J.K. Rowling's manuscript for Harry Potter was rejected by multiple publishers before someone took a chance on it. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking creativity. Thomas Edison was told he was too dumb to learn anything. If these individuals had taken rejection as a final statement on their ability, they would have disappeared into obscurity. But they didn't. They refused to let rejection define them. Instead, they used it as fuel. This is the mindset that separates the successful from the average. The average person lets rejection dictate their self-worth. The successful person sees rejection as a necessary cost of doing something meaningful. They don't take it personally. They take it as data. They study what went wrong, refine their skills, and come back stronger. Every rejection becomes a lesson, and over time, as they apply those lessons, they improve to the point where rejection happens less often, not because the world has changed, but because they have changed. There is also a psychological element to this. Many people fear rejection because it taps into an ancient survival instinct, the need for social acceptance. Deep down, rejection feels like exile, like being cast out from the tribe. But in the modern world, rejection is rarely a matter of life and death. It is a challenge, not a threat. Understanding this distinction is crucial. If you can reframe rejection in your mind, not as a personal attack, but as a natural part of progress, you remove much of its power over you. The irony is that the more you embrace rejection, the less it hurts. The first time you get rejected, it stings. The 100th time, it barely phases you. You begin to see it as a necessary filter, a way of refining your approach until you reach the right people, the right opportunities, and the right moments. Every rejection you endure without breaking makes you more resilient, more disciplined, and more prepared for the moments when success finally arrives. One of the most liberating realizations in life is that rejection is not an obstacle to success, it is a prerequisite. No one who ever achieved anything significant did so without facing rejection. It is the toll that must be paid to reach the heights of mastery. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, intelligence, or luck. It is the willingness to endure rejection, learn from it, and persist in the face of it. So the question is not whether you will be rejected. You will be. The question is what you will do afterward. Will you let rejection diminish you, or will you let it sharpen you? Will you see it as a reason to give up or as a reason to improve? If you want to succeed, if you want to leave an impact, then you must make peace with rejection. You must welcome it, study it, and use it as the stepping stone that it is meant to be. Because in the end, success does not belong to the most gifted or the most fortunate. It belongs to those who refuse to quit. Rejection is not just an unfortunate part of life. It is an essential force for transformation. It is one of the most powerful tools for growth because it forces you to confront reality in a way that success never could. When you are rejected, you are given an opportunity to see yourself, your abilities, and your weaknesses with stark clarity. It is a moment of truth, a demand for change, and an invitation to become something more than you are now. The question is whether you will embrace that demand or resist it. Most people fear rejection because it challenges their self-image. It feels like a personal attack, a confirmation of their deepest insecurities, but this is the wrong way to interpret it. Rejection is not the universe telling you that you are unworthy. It is the universe telling you that you are not yet where you need to be. That distinction is crucial. The word yet implies possibility, growth, and transformation. It suggests that rejection is not a permanent state but a temporary challenge, one that can be overcome through adaptation and refinement. When someone experiences rejection, they have two choices. The first is to shrink back, to retreat into self-pity and avoidance. This is the path of stagnation, where rejection is seen as a final judgment rather than an opportunity for improvement. The second choice, the far more difficult but rewarding one, is to ask, what can I learn from this? How must I change? The people who choose this path, who see rejection as a teacher rather than an enemy, are the ones who go on to achieve the greatest success. Think about any skill you have ever developed. Whether it was learning to walk, ride a bike, play an instrument, or master a profession, the process involved countless small failures. Every misstep, every fall, every incorrect note was, in essence, a rejection of your current ability. But you did not let those failures stop you. Instead, you adjusted, improved, and kept going. This is the same principle at play in all forms of rejection. It is not a signal to stop, but a directive to change. Consider the stories of people who have made a lasting impact on the world. They are often defined by the way they responded to rejection. Some of the most successful authors, for example, had their manuscripts rejected dozens of times before finding a publisher willing to take a chance on them. Many of the most influential inventors faced repeated failures before discovering breakthroughs. Entrepreneurs who built multi-billion-dollar companies often started with ideas that were laughed at or dismissed. The common thread in all these stories is transformation, an unwillingness to remain the same in the face of rejection. Rejection, at its core, reveals what is insufficient. It exposes weaknesses, blind spots, and areas that require refinement. This can be painful, but it is necessary. Without rejection, there is no reason to change. Comfort breeds complacency, and success can often make people resistant to growth. But rejection shatters illusions. It forces you to ask hard questions. Am I skilled enough? Did I communicate my ideas effectively? Was I prepared? Am I focusing on the right path? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are the key to real progress. The process of transformation through rejection is not immediate. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to engage in honest self-reflection. Many people quit too soon because they expect instant success. They assume that if they face rejection, it means they are not meant for a certain path. But the truth is, rejection is simply a filter separating those who are willing to grow from those who are not. If you are rejected and you refuse to change, you remain stuck. But if you take rejection as a lesson, if you use it as fuel for self-improvement, you become stronger, sharper, and more capable. There is also a psychological shift that must occur. Many people internalize rejection, believing that it is a reflection of their worth. But rejection is often impersonal. It can come from circumstances beyond your control, from biases, or from timing. Understanding this can help depersonalize rejection, making it easier to handle. But even when rejection is warranted, when it points to real weaknesses, it should be seen as an opportunity rather than a condemnation. It is a signal that something needs to change, not a declaration that you are incapable. The truth is, rejection will never go away. It is not something you outgrow or avoid by reaching a certain level of success. Even the most accomplished people continue to face rejection throughout their careers. But what separates them from those who give up is their response to it. They do not see rejection as a wall, but as a door that requires a new key. They adapt, evolve, and transform until they reach a level where rejection happens less frequently, not because they are lucky, but because they have become undeniably better. Ultimately, rejection is not an end, it is a beginning. It is the moment where you decide whether you will stay the same or become something more. If you can embrace rejection as a catalyst for transformation, there is no limit to how far you can go. But if you let rejection defeat you, if you refuse to change, you will never reach your full potential. The choice is yours. Rejection is not merely an obstacle to overcome, it is the very fuel that drives greatness. Every individual who has achieved something remarkable has faced rejection in some form. It is a universal experience, yet the difference between those who rise and those who remain stagnant is how they respond to it. Rejection, when embraced correctly, does not weaken a person, it strengthens them. It refines their skills, sharpens their vision, and forces them to develop the resilience necessary to achieve something extraordinary. Most people fear rejection because they associate it with failure. They take it personally, believing it is a direct reflection of their worth or potential. But in reality, rejection is nothing more than feedback. It is an indication that there is still room for growth, still something to refine. This is why those who are truly great do not see rejection as an attack. They see it as an essential part of the process. They recognize that each rejection is an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to improve. If you look at the lives of the most successful people in history, one pattern emerges consistently. They did not let rejection deter them. They used it as motivation. They let it fuel their drive. Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors of all time, failed thousands of times before finally developing the light bulb. Each failure was a rejection, reality telling him that his approach wasn't working. But instead of giving up, he adjusted, experimented, and refined his methods until he achieved success. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is the mindset that fuels greatness. Rejection forces individuals to push beyond their current limitations. If everything came easily, there would be no reason to improve. Comfort breeds complacency, but rejection creates hunger. It forces a person to ask hard questions, to evaluate their weaknesses, and to find new ways to achieve their goals. This process is painful, but it is also necessary. The greatest artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, and leaders in history did not become great because everything worked out for them immediately. They became great because rejection forced them to be better than they were before. Consider the world of literature. Many of the most celebrated authors faced rejection after rejection before finally finding success. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by 12 publishers before one finally took a chance on it. Stephen King's first novel, Carrie, was thrown into the trash after multiple rejections, only to be rescued by his wife, who urged him to keep trying. These writers could have easily given up, accepting rejection as a final verdict on their ability. But instead, they persisted. They believed in their work enough to keep pushing forward, and eventually they found the right audience. The same principle applies in business. Entrepreneurs who build billion-dollar companies rarely succeed on their first attempt. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the very company he co-founded, only to return years later and lead it to unprecedented success. Elon Musk has faced repeated failures in his ventures, from SpaceX rocket explosions to Tesla near-bank bankruptcy, yet he used every setback as motivation to push forward. These figures did not see rejection as a sign to quit, they saw it as proof that they needed to refine their approach and try again. There is also a psychological transformation that happens when someone embraces rejection rather than fears it. Repeated rejection builds resilience, the ability to withstand setbacks without losing confidence. When a person learns to see rejection not as a personal failure but as a necessary step toward growth, they begin to take risks without the fear of failure holding them back. They develop a mindset that says rejection is not the end of the road, it is just a detour leading me to a better path. The truth is, no one is owed success. The world does not hand out greatness freely. It must be earned, and rejection is the toll that must be paid. Those who achieve the most are not the ones who avoid rejection, but the ones who use it as a tool for growth. They take every rejection as fuel, allowing it to drive them forward rather than hold them back. At its core, rejection is a test. It asks, how much do you really want this? Those who answer with persistence, with a refusal to give up, with a commitment to improving themselves, those are the ones who achieve greatness. The difference between success and failure is not talent or luck. It is the willingness to endure rejection, learn from it, and keep moving forward. So, if you have faced rejection, know that you are in good company. Every great person before you has walked the same path. What will define you is how you respond. Will you let rejection break you, or will you let it build you? Because in the end, rejection does not prevent greatness, it fuels it. Life presents us with countless challenges, obstacles, and moments of uncertainty. One of the most fundamental truths about existence is that you will face difficulty, hardship, and rejection. You will encounter moments where you question your abilities, where you feel like giving up, where the path ahead seems insurmountable. But in every single one of these moments, you are given something incredibly powerful, a choice. The choice is yours. You can choose to retreat into comfort, to accept mediocrity, to allow failure and rejection to define you, or you can choose to rise, to push forward, to take responsibility for your life and become something greater. This choice is what separates those who succeed from those who remain stuck. It is what determines whether you live a life of purpose or one of regret. And the difficult reality is that no one else can make this choice for you. Many people go through life believing that their circumstances dictate their future. They blame their upbringing, their environment, or the unfairness of the world for their lack of progress. And while it is true that some people face greater obstacles than others, it is also true that history is filled with examples of individuals who refuse to let their circumstances define them. They recognized that while they could not control everything that happened to them, they could always control their response. They chose resilience over self-pity, action over hesitation, and discipline over complacency. When you face rejection, when things do not go as planned, you have two choices. You can choose to see it as proof that you are not good enough, that you should quit, that the world is against you, or you can choose to see it as an opportunity for growth, as a signal that you need to refine your skills, as a challenge that will make you stronger. This choice, your response to adversity, is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. It will determine the trajectory of your life. Think about the people you admire, the ones who have accomplished incredible things. Do you think they never struggled? Do you think they never doubted themselves? Of course they did. The difference is that they refused to let those struggles define them. They made a choice again and again to keep going, to keep improving, to keep believing that their efforts mattered. Success in any field does not happen by accident. It is the result of countless decisions made every single day to show up, to put in the work, to endure discomfort, and to persist despite setbacks. There is no magic formula, no shortcut, no easy path. There is only the choice to keep moving forward, to keep striving towards something greater, even when it is difficult. Some people spend their entire lives waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, the ideal conditions to start pursuing their goals. But the truth is, there will never be a perfect time. There will always be challenges, distractions, and reasons to delay. The difference between those who achieve and those who don't is that the achievers choose to start anyway. They choose to act even when they are uncertain, even when they are afraid, even when they don't feel ready. And that is what you must do if you want to create something meaningful with your life. You must choose action over inaction, courage over fear, perseverance over comfort. You must decide every day to take responsibility for your future rather than waiting for someone else to hand it to you, because no one is coming to save you. No one is going to do the work for you. If you want a better life, if you want success, fulfillment, purpose, you must choose to create it. The world is full of people who have settled for less than they are capable of because they were unwilling to make the hard choices. They let fear dictate their decisions. They let failure discourage them. They let rejection convince them that they weren't good enough. But you do not have to be one of those people. You can choose differently. You can choose growth, discipline, and perseverance. You can choose to rise above your circumstances, to take control of your destiny, to refuse to let temporary setbacks define your future. At the end of your life, you will look back at the choices you made, and the question will not be, did life treat me fairly, but rather, did I make the most of the opportunities I had? The regrets that haunt people are not the failures they experienced, but the chances they never took. the risks they avoided, the dreams they abandoned out of fear. Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can choose to stay where you are, to remain comfortable, to accept life as it is, or you can choose to step into the unknown, to challenge yourself, to push past your limitations and strive for something greater. No one can make this choice for you. No one else will walk this path on your behalf. The decision is yours and yours alone. So, what will you choose?